But what Jose said is history is more than that. It's like how people lived. It's the things they did. It's the things they used. And so history could be teaching about, rodeo. It could be teaching about how, to me, one of the crazy, amazing things, and this goes back to math, about people like Marcel Lebeau or people like Joseph Oklahoma, or can you imagine going from a town of 400 people to France? I mean, just the logistics of it, like how do you get from here to there and how long it took and how different it was. And to me, that takes a pretty huge amount of courage. So where to look for these stories? So the Library of Congress, of course, has a ton of resources, all of it freely available. Now for us, if we're going to put it in a game, it has to be, so you can probably use anything that's there because it falls under that fair educational use, right? But for us to put it in a game, it has to be not under copyright. And I know Maria's on here and she probably can give us lots of insight on like what's copyright free and what's not. But if it's over, I think it's 100 years. But
Yeah, it's like I think it's like 98 years or something like that. Because with my story with World War One, most of the stuff sources I'm using are not copyrighted anymore.
right, and a lot of the stuff we're using, same thing from the early 20th century. And then also the Library of Congress has this whole free to use and reuse sources, and everything there you can use. There's the Smithsonian, but not everything just because it's in the Library of Congress is free. So I'll show you later, like I track everything. If you're just using it for your school, I think you're golden. But if you want it put in a game, I need to know where you got it from. And then I will go and look and see if it's in the public domain, or lots of things are created without a copyright if they're done by the federal government. But we do check everything because I don't want to end up in white collar prison next to all those people that aren't they from where you live now, Tim, that were like faking the election. I don't want to end up their cellmates. So I'm making sure everything we do doesn't violate copyright.
All right,
Um,
we'll be out of jail. So
And so then there's military history museums. So there's the World War I Memorial Museum, which I just learned 10 minutes ago is in Kansas City. There's the World War II Museum, which I learned this week is in New Orleans, but they all have websites, so you can go there. There's the state historical museums, which a lot of the stuff I found about Joseph Medicine Crow came from the Montana Historical Society, where it turned out he was on the board. Who knew? So the Library of Congress is a good start, but it doesn't have to be the only place. And then there's like the state websites for the Department of Tribal Relations, which I wouldn't have thought to look there for educational material, but now I know. Or the Department of Public Instruction is where the North Dakota Native American Essential Understandings is. Yeah, what I wanted to say is while you're going through this Library of Congress stuff and looking for people, the other thing that you ought to consider is kind of serendipity. There's background images, there's information. So like here, I was actually trying to find something about sailors, but I found this picture of guys working on a sub in the 1950s. So keep that in mind when you're looking for characters, to look for if there's other things that you spot that, oh, maybe this won't be a character in the game,